Jason Rzucidlo reporting from inside the new atrium here at Cobo Center for the 27th Annual Society of Automotive Analysts Auto Outlook Conference. Coming up, we're going to hear remarks from Mr. Andrew Smith, Executive Director of Global Cadillac and Buick Design.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd like to first of all thank the Society of Automotive Analysts for inviting me on the eve of North America's premier auto show. Now today you're going to hear a lot about this ever-evolving industry, insights and trends in the luxury market. You'll get the benefit from expert analysis, you'll talk about sales, and I'm sure you'll talk about growth in the market. I'm not going to talk about any of that. The chance for me to talk to you, I guess, today is to take a few moments and tell you about how designers approach trends, how we approach the automotive business, and how we approach the business of luxury. And in the process, hopefully inspire you to think a little the same way and to be able to draw your own conclusions from what we're seeing happen around us. First and foremost, I want to make a very clear distinction. Artists and designers. Artists are all about self-expression. Designers, on the other hand, are problem solvers. So we identify and fill needs to enrich the lives of customers. But to do this right, we must understand our customers and the changing world in which they live. Now, everyone in this space watches trends. However, as a designer, what I find fascinating is the interpretive thinking around what those trends mean. The scenarios are where it really gets interesting for me, the what if. Now we know there are trends around urbanization, there are trends in connectivity, ecological trends, fragmentation of the market is something we talk about a lot. We live in a fast-paced world and we've entered a new stage of consumerism. As luxury has been democratized and become more accessible to the masses, our challenge is to cultivate a luxury experience that elevates and understand how global and regional trends impact that. So the designer's role is to take trends and create or to synthesize future scenarios. Then, through the filter of brand, select and develop the best response. But what does that actually mean? Well, let me give you an example. Had I told you 20 years ago that we'd be constantly connected to a globally networked computer database and that all our electronic devices would be smart, you would look at me and wonder, first of all, why would I want that? And second of all, what does that actually mean for my day-to-day life? And that's really where the role of the designer comes in. What does it mean in my day-to-day life? Well, I can tell you that with this scenario, it's meant that we have people now sitting at traffic lights surfing the internet. It's shortened our attention spans, and it's increased our need for instant gratification. With texting, who uses the telephone anymore? So another thing has happened. We've paced our responses. We meter our conversations, and we communicate on our own terms. Now, I was talking to my children the other night, and I was pointing out to them that on their iPhone, bottom left, there's a new app. It's a green one with a white handset on it. I was explaining that what you can do with that is you can talk directly to another person, one-on-one, immediately. Now, you know, for all the parents in the room, you know the look I got, but the point I'm trying to make is that the next generation doesn't use the telephone. They communicate on their own terms. Another example of the internet. With instant access to all the knowledge today, every dinner table argument is immediately settled. So, okay Google, how many actors played Darren Stevens in Bewitched? When we ask questions like, what do these developments mean as foundations or as canvas for developing products, or what are consumers going to be looking for in the future, that's where the conversation starts to get really interesting. Now, hand in hand with trends is technological innovation. They influence each other in a constant loop. So as technologies develop to solve one problem, they open up new opportunities for innovation. And they also invoke societal responses. So consider one technology, alternate propulsion. As the desire to be green has permeated society, it's driven technological innovation into our vehicles. And we can debate the various benefits of different propulsion systems, but in the end, consumers, along with other factors like infrastructure, cost, and legislation, will declare the winner. So it's a little bit like a VHS Betamax debate. It's not necessarily the best one that's going to win, it's the one that's accepted by society. Consider other emerging technologies like 3D printing. That gives us the ability to provide individual customization. It offers endless possibilities for the auto industry. So does a customer want a unique, just-for-me vehicle, like a custom suit? Or an off-the-rack suit modified by a tailor? Or something more mainstream that they can easily dispose of? Obviously, the next big technological frontier in our industry is autonomous driving. Last September, Cadillac announced it will introduce a model in 2017 that features Super Cruise. And that's a system designed to ease the driver's workload on freeways, in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and on long trips. But beyond that, there are questions. What does the future of true autonomous driving look like? How will autonomous driving be integrated into society? I can tell you that autonomous driving will either be loved or hated. And it will depend on people like me. It'll depend on designers and engineers and how they execute that technology. Very simply, is the car in control or am I being chauffeured? These are two very different perspectives, and the designer's task becomes how to craft an experience. We paint a picture. That's how designers think. The challenge is turning something that could feel very uncomfortable into an emotional experience, one that delights the owner, maybe a luxury experience. Talking about luxury, in the past, space and possessions were the currency of the wealthy. And in turn, if you were rich, you had the means to have more of something. Well, in the future, I think time is the dimension that people will desire. I guess you ask why? I would tell you that as an industry and as a society, we are learning how to be constantly connected. I've talked about how this has changed our world, but we are always aware, we are always tempted, we are always distracted, we are constantly connected. I see a trend in the luxury end of the market, and it's one that we've discussed for quite a few years. It's a desire to be disconnected, because switching off and relaxing are going to be luxuries, even in connected autonomous vehicles. So you may want to disconnect for purposes of relaxation and luxury, or perhaps for other reasons, like cybersecurity. So a parallel path, but the latter is an emerging trend, and we're witnessing products like SGP's encrypted black phone. The challenge and the opportunity for the designer is to create a vehicle that gives the owner a luxury experience using a portal of privacy and enabling time. The many possibilities, and frankly the challenge, is something that excites my team. Now, speaking about time, I think the luxury watch industry offers parallels and insight. In a society where all our devices are smart and everyone is carrying a smartphone, who really needs a separate device to tell the time? And yet we continue to wear watches. We wear them because they telegraph our social stature to others. More importantly, as a luxury connoisseur, it displays your sophistication and discernment. Now consider the stages of luxury that I'm sure you're all familiar with. Stage 1, conspicuous expression, consumption, status, the bling. Stage 2, where we talk about discernment and worth. This is where it becomes more about taste. So you're still name checking, it's still about brand, but you're trying to show that you understand the concept of quality. And then stage 3, which is really a great frontier for true luxury, experiential design or experiential luxury. At this level, you no longer need to display or prove your wealth. But on the flip side, brands need to know and definitively understand their customers. They need to know their customers intimately. In this stage, customers understand value, but the focus is on service and experience, on a par with the quality of the product. And for the product, it's all about emotion. So, many luxury watch buyers, the guys that you know who buy great watches, they've probably moved beyond the bling. They're discerning watch connoisseurs. And the value of an object begins to rely on concepts like rarity and backstory, some intangible yet intrinsic element that can be explained and shared. This authenticity, this heritage, is something that's built over time, with values that remain consistent for a brand.